Hey, welcome to the Integrate This EdTech podcast. I'm David Berner, and I am joined by award-winning educator, featured in the Timeless Heroes documentary, and assistant director at Roper Mountain Science Center, Thomas Riddle. Thomas, thanks for joining us. Appreciate
Thanks for
it.
having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Right, and we were just talking, this is your first time at ISTE, correct?
Yes,
You've been associated with ASCD a little bit, but...
Yeah, in the past I've presented at ASCD many years ago when I was a young administrator, but first time at ISTE, excited to be here.
Yeah, great. And you started off by you were at Epcot, right?
Yeah, we went to Magic Kingdom the first day, and then we headed over to Epcot on Sunday, and Animal Kingdom before that. Kind of did the park hopper thing, yeah. Two of my sons are down here with me. They're doing the parks while I'm at the conference now.
Yeah, and one thing I didn't mention actually too is the Imagineering Education book.
Yeah.
And that connects you. Did you do the scavenger hunt at the...
I did, with Toby Fisher. Yes, Toby's got a great thing going on there. And I was there with them for a bit. I had to tap out a little bit early. I'd been at the parks since 7 o'clock that morning.
Okay. Yep.
But yeah, we did the meet up there from the book study that they did around my book. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anybody that we've been asking our guests? Is there anybody that you've met with online only? I know besides us.
Oh yeah, you guys first time in person was great.
Yeah. But is there anybody else that you're like, yeah, I was glad to finally meet that person?
Yeah, Tina and Mantha and all these guys that were in our book chat. Rachel, these were folks I'd never met before in person, and then it's always cool to do that. Mary Alice Curran and I worked together for years, and probably 10 years online before we finally met in person. That's always a fun thing.
Yeah. What has your experience at ISTE been like so far? Like first time being at this particular conference with the merger and all that?
Yeah, well, it's fascinating. I love being around the energy. I love being around the ideas. It's like drinking through a fire hose. I was telling someone on the elevator today, you know.
It's a great way to put it.
Yeah, it is. And if you come to my session today, you'll also be drinking through a fire hose. A lot to say, a little bit of time. But that's the good thing. I love the thing like this. It's like going away to summer camp when you're a kid. You know,
Yeah.
you get all energized and everything. But the most important thing is to take that energy back, and what are you going to do with it? You know,
Yeah.
we can come here and we can sit around and say, hey, great job, love that. But until we actually apply the things that we're talking about, that's where the rubber meets the road, and that's where the real impact happens.
Yeah. We had a group, we were talking about that last night too. You definitely feel a sense of rejuvenation here, and it does encourage you and inspire people, I think, to try to apply things to the things that they're doing in the classroom, right? You learn new ideas, you bring it to the classroom, and that's where the change happens, right?
That's it. But you have to do that next step, you know. Walt Disney used to say, you know, if you could dream it, you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Some people say it's not attributed to him, but that's kind of attached to him. But Disney did say this. He said, how do you make something happen is to stop talking and start doing. And
Right.
so a lot of times we come to places like this and we get energized, like you said, and we do a lot of talking, a lot of excitement. But when we get back, that's the real test. You know, it's time to stop talking and start doing. Let's jump in, roll our sleeves up, and do the real work of transforming lives.
Right, yeah, and Transforming Education, new name, ISTE, International
that's
Society
right.
for
Look at that.
Transforming Education, right? Transforming takes action, right?
It does. Anything that's transformational is going to take action. But here's the thing too, you know, I would encourage everyone to take some time to reflect at the end of this conference or when you get back, because I can't transform the lives of my students unless I'm transforming myself.
Yep.
I can't transform the work that the people around me unless I'm doing the inner work myself. You know, I can't give away that which I don't have. And so if I'm wanting my kids to be more creative, more imaginative, and do these things, then I have to do kind of some self-reflection. Say, how am I modeling that? How do I do that myself? You know, I can't be a great leader unless I can lead myself well. So it's something that I need to really check myself on. And it's like, okay, let me start with me, and then I can do it with others. It's like putting your oxygen mask on yourself first before you put someone
Right.
else on the plane, right?
Yep.
So I have to be willing to be transformed and change myself before I can change the lives of others.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And you mentioned the session that you're doing today.
Yeah, right.
So can you talk a little bit about the name of that session and what people can expect as they go to that session? What are you hoping to achieve with that?
Yeah, so it's based on a lot of the work in my book. Imagineering Education is the name of the book, came out last fall. This this session is called Reimagineering Education, Transforming Learning Through Story, Space, and People. And we're going to hit on some of those main topics that I cover in the book about really 4 core pillars that I focus on. If you want to transform schools, then I think it comes down to, what are the stories you're telling, being intentional about all of that. What are the spaces, how are we designing the spaces in which to tell those stories? What are the experiences that we're providing for students that fill those spaces? And then, most importantly, how am I preparing and pouring into my teachers, my people? As a classroom teacher, how do I pour into my students? As a principal, as a leader, how am I pouring in to my teachers? As a superintendent, how am I pouring into all of my entire district? So Walt used to say this, that you can create the biggest, greatest attractions, most beautiful buildings, but it's the people that make the magic. And it's the same thing here. So we're going to be talking about those, kind of diving into those concepts today.
Okay, and yeah, that's great, and hopefully we're going to try to make that session too, and be part of that. So
good. I need some friendly faces in there.
Yeah. So that'll be good. And do you want to talk a little bit too, just about the book, the connecting, the session connects to that, but what about the book? Can you give us a little bit more information about that?
Yeah. So the book was born out of a TEDx talk I gave about 15 years ago. I did it twice, and picked up a lot of traction and got a lot of interest. So I said, hey, one day I need to write a book about this. And then kids, life, all those things. And then I finally got around to it about 15 years later. But the book is based on the premise of one question of what if we designed schools like Disney designs theme parks? And this is not like a glorification of the Disney theme parks, although I'm a huge fan. It's how do we look at the work of world-class designers, experienced designers, the Imagineers, and what is it that they do that get people coming back time after time and having creating such wonderful memories there that people remember the rest of their lives. The more I went down the rabbit hole of how they do design, the more I realized they gave language to what I knew intuitively worked as a classroom teacher and as a principal. And so I began to play with these ideas of how do I apply these core design principles to learning spaces, and have had practice over the last 15 years doing that, and have seen tremendous results with engagement, and that's what it's all about. Engagement's the foundation of everything else we do. So that's what the book's really about, is how do we dive into that, and how do we use the resources that we have available to us, these tools. I walk through the vendor hall. There's all these amazing tools, but a tool is only as good as the person that uses it. And so that's what a lot of the book's about.
Yeah, and I really, I love to, like when you were on a podcast, you talk about story, right?
Yeah.
The importance of story,
Right.
And connecting things that are familiar to things that are like stories that are familiar to you, and connecting those to like something like Indiana Jones.
Oh yeah, teaching with pop culture. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so I taught world history for many years. I'm a social studies teacher by trade. Proud one.
Same.
Yeah, I love it. And football coach, same.
Yep.
And I love it, man. Coaches can be some of the best teachers in the world because we have to get immediate feedback. And that's a whole other thing. But yeah, story is important. And it's, I had a lot of success teaching world mythology with Star Wars because Lucas developed that story around the concepts of the monomyth, Joseph Campbell's ideas about the universal hero, the hero with 1,000 faces. And so I taught ancient history with Star Wars, with the original trilogy, and how we can introduce, I was introducing students to the stories of other cultures through teaching them with a hook of Star Wars, and it was very successful. Indiana Jones the same way. Again, had I still remained in the classroom for any length of time after that, I would have been using Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, when the movies came out.
Big fan.
Oh, yeah, all that. Well, I mean, seriously, when I was in 6th grade, my 6th grade literature teacher, Miss Kovac, introduced me to The Hobbit. We had to read The Hobbit, and changed my life in terms of what's out there, and in terms of literature, okay? And so that got me into Lord of the Rings after that, and then these epic heroes that I've always had a passion for, going back to childhood.
Yeah. I'm reading Lord of the Rings with my daughter right now. We're about halfway through the Fellowship of the Ring.
Okay.
So,
Oh, I thought you were going to say we're trying to slog through the dead marshes right now. Let me
Yeah.
know how that goes. Call me and see how that goes.
yeah, I'll shoot you a message.
Yeah, please do.
So one last question for you, Thomas.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about just that you have coming up and things that, obviously you're here at ISTE, but what about after that, projects that you're working on, the Science Center, anything like that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so my full-time gig is helping to lead a world-class science center. If you ever come to Greenville, South Carolina, hit me up. Love to show you around. It's an incredible facility, 62 acres, owned by a school district, over 100,000 square feet of learning space, outside trails. We have dinosaurs and we have sharks you can pet. I mean, it's the whole gamut. And we build rockets and we build robots and we have a planetarium and all that. So those kind of things are exciting. That's my day job. Consulting with Imagineering Education is something that's growing and picking up speed. So I do have some projects that I'm working on now. Can't talk about two of them. Waiting to hear back on one. I'm hoping I'll be able to announce that pretty soon. Another one I can announce later this fall. I've been working on that one since first of the year. Incredible project. So yeah, it's what I really enjoy doing is helping people create these immersive spaces and experiences for learners of all ages. And both of these projects kind of scratch that itch for me. I do have the audio version of the book coming up. That's the next big thing. I've been in the studio recording that, and so that's going to be coming out. The goal is to have it out before the start of school. So end of August is when we plan on having that wrapped up.
Okay, great. So make sure you follow Thomas on LinkedIn and everywhere else, Instagram.
Yeah, Riddle21 on Instagram. Thomas Riddle II. Yes, I'm Voldemort. Okay, Harry Potter fans. Tom Riddle. Haha. And Imagineering Education or Imagineeringedu.com is my website where I blog and I have. The old podcast episodes have been so busy writing the book, didn't have time to get that going, but I'm going to get that back. So
Sure, and make sure you check out the podcast episode that we did with Thomas.
Oh man,
as
so
well.
much fun.
Yeah, it was a blast. Talked about so many great topics, including Indiana Jones and Star Wars and things like that. So make sure you follow Thomas. Make sure you follow the Integrate This podcast. And Thomas, thanks.
Oh
Appreciate
yeah,
it.
and hey, can I say one thing real quick?
Yeah.
If you guys ever want to get pumped up, you've got to listen to these guys' playlist they put together of all of our walk-up songs. Oh my gosh, that was my jam. I had a big presentation the other day, a big pitch, and I was 2 hours on the road. I listened through everything. I was ready to go. I hit it going. So check them out on Spotify too.
That's awesome. Yeah. Thanks.